Welcome to Heart Over Gold, the channel where love, kindness, and humanity shine brighter than any fortune. In today's story, Max Caldwell, a wealthy real estate mogul, tests the loyalty of Angelina Whitmore, a hard-working waitress, by pretending to lose everything. As their lives collide, trust, deception, and vulnerability force both of them to confront what it truly means to love and evolve. Will their connection survive the lies, or will their differences drive them apart? A story of redemption, love, and personal transformation unfolds. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, and keep up with our latest stories. Angelina Whitmore glanced at the clock again, balancing 3 plates on her arm as midnight approached. After 10 hours of nonstop work at Café Belmont, her legs ached from exhaustion. With a forced smile, she placed the burgers on table 6, though the middle-aged man didn't even look up. "Anything else I can get you?" she asked, keeping her tone friendly despite her fatigue. "More ketchup?" he replied, his eyes glued to his phone. In the kitchen, Angelina did some quick mental calculations. The tips from tonight might finally allow her to fix the leak in her apartment. Maybe she could also buy the medications that Michael needed, which insurance didn't cover. It was always a struggle for both. "Hey, Angelina," Sarah, another server, gently tapped her on the shoulder. "Table 3 is yours." Angelina looked over to see a man sitting alone at table 3. He had just arrived, dressed in jeans and a plain blue shirt, but there was an undeniable air of wealth about him. Perhaps it was the watch on his wrist, or the way he sat with such self-assurance, as though the world owed him something. "Good evening. Can I take your order?" Angelina asked, notebook ready. The man glanced up from the menu, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked. There was an unexpected spark between them. His blue eyes were striking, a stark contrast to his perfectly groomed dark hair. "Just black coffee and apple pie." "Please," he replied, his voice softer than she expected. Max Caldwell stood at the window of his penthouse, staring out at the city below. From 40 floors up, the people below seemed like ants, each rushing somewhere, searching for something. He viewed the world as a place where everyone seemed to be after something from him. "Mr. Caldwell, the board is waiting," his assistant said from the doorway. Max straightened his tie, grabbed his leather briefcase, and headed to the conference room. At 35, he had built a real estate empire that rivaled those of the city's wealthiest families. As he entered the conference room, 10 men in sharp suits rose in respect. "Gentlemen," Max acknowledged with a slight nod, "we're cutting costs today." The meeting proceeded as expected, with Max making decisions and everyone else agreeing without hesitation. By the end, he had secured another $50 million for his next venture. "Max, are you going to the charity dinner on Friday?" Richard asked as they walked out. "Most likely. My assistant will confirm," Max replied, not really thinking about it. He knew it would be just another evening full of fake smiles and women attracted to his wealth. Café Belmont was a world away from the luxurious boardrooms where Max spent most of his time. Tucked in a modest neighborhood, it was more suited for night shift workers than executives. Angelina lived just 3 blocks away, in a cramped apartment filled with leaks and overdue bills. Her hands bore the marks of hard work, while Max's were smooth from the ease of signing contracts. Max had never stepped foot in a place like Café Belmont, but one Wednesday night, after a long day of meetings, he decided to stop by for a change of scenery. There, their paths crossed in a way neither of them expected. "I haven't seen you here before," Angelina remarked as she poured him coffee. "Never been," Max replied, surprised by his own desire to engage with her. "But I might come back tomorrow." 2 months passed, and their relationship blossomed. Coffee dates, late-night talks, and moments that made Max reconsider everything he thought he knew about relationships. Angelina was nothing like the women he was used to. She laughed freely, spoke her mind, and didn't care about his wealth. "You know, my company just acquired that building," Max mentioned casually as they walked by a new skyscraper. "Great," Angelina responded, unfazed. "Tell me more about that dog you had when you were 10. Her lack of interest in his wealth was both refreshing and unsettling. Throughout his life, Max had learned to trust no one, especially women. His mother had left his father for a wealthier man, and that lesson had stayed with him. But Angelina was different. One night, sitting in his luxurious apartment with a view of the city, Max felt a wave of uncertainty. "Penny for your thoughts?" Angelina asked, sitting next to him on the leather couch. Max looked at her, this woman who worked long shifts, who surprised him with homemade sandwiches, who never asked about his money. "I need to know if you're genuine," he murmured, almost to himself. "What do you mean?" she asked, her brow furrowing. "Nothing," he replied, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. But doubt lingered in his mind. A week later, Max invited Angelina to a fancy restaurant. As they sat down, he felt nervous for the first time in ages. "You seem a bit on edge," she remarked, noticing his discomfort. Max took a deep breath. "I have something to tell you. I've lost everything." He told her the story, how the stock market had crashed, his investments had failed, his company was bankrupt, and his penthouse had been taken away. "All I have left is a small emergency fund and a modest apartment in Westbrook," he concluded. He waited for her to react. Disappointment, pity, maybe even a hasty exit. But Angelina surprised him. She reached across the table, gently taking his hand. "We'll figure this out," she said, her voice steady and calm. There was no judgment, no concern for his wealth, just genuine support. "Are you sure you want to be with someone who can't offer you the nice things anymore?" Max asked, digging deeper. Angelina chuckled softly. "Max, I've spent my whole life without nice things. I'm with you for who you are, not for what you can give me." Max moved into the small apartment in Westbrook, far from his former lavish life. He'd already spread the word about his financial downfall, making sure that Angelina would hear it from others. When she helped him unpack, he noticed how she made the small space feel warm and welcoming. She brought curtains and a small plant to brighten it up. "It already feels more like home," she said with a smile. That night, they had takeout on the floor, and Angelina shared stories of her own humble upbringing. For the first time, Max felt a pang of inadequacy, not from his financial ruin, but from her authenticity. As the weeks passed, Angelina continued to amaze him. She brought home leftovers from the cafe, showed him the local public transportation system, and introduced him to budget-friendly spots in the neighborhood. She never complained when they opted for free activities, and she always seemed to enjoy their time together more than any of the expensive outings he had once taken her on. What struck Max the most, though, was how supportive she was. When he was anxious about finding a job, she stayed up late with him, helping him perfect his resume. When he received rejection emails, she reminded him of his worth. But despite everything, a nagging doubt remained in his mind. What if she was just playing him? What if she had ulterior motives? One night, Max noticed Angelina acting strangely. She had been distracted all day, checking her phone more often and giving short responses to his questions. She mentioned needing to stop by the cafe to fix a mishandled direct deposit. Max decided to follow her. He trailed her to a rundown area, watching as she entered a dilapidated apartment building. He stayed hidden, watching as a man with similar dark hair to hers met her outside. They spoke briefly before sharing a kiss on the cheek. Then the man handed her a folded piece of paper, which she slipped into her pocket before walking away. When Angelina returned, Max couldn't hold back any longer. "Where's your purse?" he asked, noticing it was missing. She hesitated, then explained that the strap had broken and she'd left it for repairs at a shop near the cafe. Max wasn't convinced, and over the next few days, he followed her again. He saw her meet the same man on 2 more occasions. Each time she handed him cash, and Max's suspicions deepened. The final straw came when Max noticed that $300 had gone missing from his wallet. That evening, Angelina mentioned she needed to go out again. Max snapped. "You've been supporting him, haven't you?" he asked, his voice cold. "Is that where my money went?" Angelina's face went pale. "You followed me?" "I had to know the truth," Max replied, his anger now masking his hurt. The silence in the room was thick until Angelina finally spoke. "His name is Michael. He's my brother. I didn't take anything from you." She handed him the folded paper. It was a prescription receipt for $278 worth of medication. "Michael has epilepsy. He was released from prison 3 months ago, and without insurance he can't afford his meds. I've been helping him." Max stared at the prescription in his hand, the weight of the situation settling in. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because of his past," Angelina replied quietly. Max felt a surge of relief mixed with guilt. "Yes, prison," she declared with conviction. "Now you understand why I chose to keep it hidden." The moment they hear that word, people jump to conclusions. Max sensed the earth trembling beneath him. His meticulously crafted test was falling apart, yet not in the manner he had expected. "I believe," Angelina said softly, "that you owe me an explanation as well. Beginning with the reason you've been shadowing me." They stood opposite one another in the cramped living room, the atmosphere thick with unvoiced judgments. Max sensed his meticulously crafted story starting to fall apart. "I followed you because the pieces weren't fitting together," he stated, selecting his words with precision. "The late-night vanishings, the hushed phone conversations. What was I meant to believe?" "You were meant to have faith in me," Angelina retorted. "That's the foundation of any relationship, Max. They have faith in one another." The irony of her words struck him with the force of a tangible impact. Trust, the very element he had been scrutinizing all this time. What did your brother do? Max asked, shifting the topic. Why was he in prison? Angelina sank onto the couch, her weariness evident. Armed robbery, yet it was not as it appeared. She detailed how Michael had become involved with a questionable group following the loss of their parents. She recounted his presence during a convenience store robbery, unaware that his companions were carrying weapons. The public defender had recommended that he accept a plea deal instead of facing the possibility of a longer sentence in court. Ultimately, he served 4 years, she noted, and was released early for good behavior. Yet now he struggles to secure employment, unable to find a place to live, and is denied access to health care. The system seems intent on perpetuating his suffering. Max absorbed the words, a tightness growing in his gut. He had been so consumed by his own anxieties, his own challenges, that he overlooked the genuine battles unfolding before him. Why didn't you mention him earlier? He inquired, his tone now gentler. Because I've witnessed how people respond. Angelina's gaze locked onto his unwavering. They claim to be empathetic, yet soon their perception shifts, as if I could pose a threat as well. Or they transform Michael into a mere charity case to soothe their own conscience. I couldn't stand to witness either scenario unfold with you. Max settled beside her, maintaining a respectful distance, yet close enough to sense the intensity of her fury. I still don't understand why you didn't just ask me for the money for his medication, he said. Because I'm not with you for your money, Max. I've always paid my own way. Her voice wavered a bit. I plan to get a new one on payday. I didn't have enough this month after covering his rent. The weight of shame in Max's chest felt like a tightening noose. Angelina was there tirelessly putting in double shifts, scraping together every penny, supporting her brother in his journey to rebuild, while Max found himself merely testing her resolve through games. There's something I need to tell you, he said softly. The moment of truth had come, yet it unfolded differently than he had envisioned. Angelina regarded him with caution. What? I haven't been entirely truthful with you either. He inhaled deeply. I'm not broke, Angelina. I never have been. She gazed at him, bewilderment taking the place of fury. What are you saying? The bankruptcy, the job loss, this apartment, it's all a fabrication. As he began, the words flowed effortlessly. I still possess my company. I still own my penthouse. I still possess it all. Her expression shifted as realization set in. Initially, there was disbelief followed by shock, and ultimately a chilling rage he had never witnessed before. Are you saying, she began, her voice dangerously quiet, that you pretended to lose everything as some kind of test? Max nodded, unable to meet her eyes. I needed to know if you wanted me for me or for my money. The laugh that burst from Angelina was harsh and humorless. That's quite something, Max, truly something. Do you have any idea what I've been up to these last few months? Putting in extra hours to assist you with the rent, bringing back leftover food so we could cut down on grocery expenses, demonstrating the art of budgeting. I assumed you were facing difficulties. She rose, moving restlessly around the cramped space and all that, while you were observing the lives of those less fortunate. It wasn't like that, he argued. What was that experience like? Please help me grasp it, as I'm struggling to comprehend how someone could exhibit such manipulation. Max attempted to share insights about his upbringing, recounting the moment his mother departed from his father for a wealthier partner, reflecting on the series of connections where he sensed more exploitation than affection. So dueto the pain inflicted by others, you chose to inflict pain on me first, anticipating my potential to hurt you. Angelina's tone was empty. That's not love, Max. That's fear. The word hit him like a punch. Fear. Had this been the reality from the start? And the most painful part, she went on, tears finally flowing, is that while you were caught up in your trivial pursuits, I was genuinely grappling with significant issues. My brother's health, his future, the struggle to make ends meet. These weren't mere challenges or situations for me, Max. This is my life. She approached the door, clutching her coat. Where are you going? He asked, a sense of panic swelling in his chest. Far from this place. Far from you? She shook her head in disbelief. You deceived me all along, and now you think I should place my trust in you. The disappointment reflected in her eyes, cut deeper than any fury. Max extended his hand toward her, but she retreated. Eva, I beg you. I erred in my judgment. A grave error. Indeed you did. She swung the door open. I crafted one as well. I believed you were unique. Without uttering another word, she exited. She closed the door softly behind her. The gentle click resonated with a weight that felt more devastating than any slam could have. Max remained alone in the apartment he had rented for his intricate ruse, encircled by the modest furnishings that had served as mere props in his experiment. For the first time, he perceived them through Angelina's perspective, not merely as a fleeting annoyance, but as the truth she had always lived. In that instant, he grasped the profound essence of losing everything. 3 weeks slipped by, and the absence of communication from Angelina was overwhelming. Max had returned to his penthouse, yet the space felt devoid of warmth. The expansive windows that once framed a vista of hope now revealed only a void. He had reached out to her countless times, leaving voicemails that became more urgent with each attempt, and even showed up at the cafe. When he confronted her, Sarah's response was issy. She had changed to morning shifts, and she had no desire to see him. In the evenings, he would find himself on his balcony, drink in hand, reflecting on Angelina's words. Cowardice. The term lingered in his mind, a painful reminder of his reality. He had been too fearful to embrace trust, too hesitant to show vulnerability, leading him to create a complex challenge that ultimately cost him the only authentic connection he had ever experienced. His phone rang, pulling him abruptly from his reverie. With a flicker of hope that it might be Angelina, he grabbed it eagerly, only to find his assistant's name flashing on the screen. "What is it, Jessica?" he replied, his disappointment evident in his tone. "Sir, the Preston deal is unraveling. They assert that we misrepresented the property's value." In the past, this news would have triggered a crisis response from him. At that moment, he found it difficult to muster any concern. "Do what you think is best," he stated, cutting off the conversation before she had a chance to reply. The reality was nothing felt significant anymore. It wasn't the deals, the money, or the empire he had constructed that mattered. Without Angelina, everything felt devoid of purpose. Meanwhile, across town, Angelina found herself at her kitchen table, encircled by overdue notices. Her brother's medication expenses had risen, and the time she'd taken off work while caring for Max had left her finances in disarray. "You should have let me help you," Michael said, observing her as she organized bills into urgent stacks. "I'm fine," she insisted, though they both recognized it was untrue. "Once I take on those extra weekend shifts, we'll reconnect." Michael frowned. "This is about him, isn't it? You're too proud to accept help because of what he did." Angelina remained silent. The hurt Max had caused was still too fresh to talk about. She had placed her trust in him entirely, revealing parts of herself she'd never shown before. And throughout it all, he had been scrutinizing her as if she were a subject in a scientific study. Her phone vibrated with a message. Yet another apology from Max. She dismissed it without a glance. "He persists," Michael noted. "Let him," she replied with a hint of bitterness. Yet later that night, as she lay in bed alone, she permitted herself to reminisce about the cherished moments. The way Max had listened when she shared her dreams, how he never made her feel inferior, even in moments of his own perceived inadequacy, the authentic joy reflected in his eyes during their simplest moments together. Was it all just a performance, or was there a deeper truth hidden within the facade? This question lingered in her mind, keeping her awake until the first light of dawn. The following evening, Michael returned home with a battered face and bloodied knuckles. "What happened?" Angelina exclaimed, hurrying to assess his wounds. Michael flinched as her fingers brushed against his swollen cheek. It was merely a misunderstanding. Yet, as she tended to his wounds, the reality unfolded. He had encountered old prison acquaintances who were seeking his assistance for a job, the unlawful sort. When he declined, they made it evident that there was no alternative. "They are aware of my address. Angelina, they are aware of your existence." His voice quivered. "They warned that if I refuse to assist them, they'll ensure I return to incarceration or worse." A chill of dread clutched at Angelina's heart. "We must go to the police." "And what am I supposed to say? That my former cellmates are making threats? They'll just accuse me of breaching my parole by being around known offenders." He shook his head. "I have to get out of here. Begin anew in a place where they won't track me down." "With what money?" Angelina asked. Though she was already aware that there was only one answer, she would need to deplete her scant savings. Perhaps she would even consider a loan beyond her means. Michael appeared to sense her inner turmoil. "I'll find a way. This isn't your concern." Yet they both understood it was. It had always been her burden. Ever since their parents passed away, she had made a vow to care for her younger brother. That evening, once Michael was tucked in, Angelina found herself in the stillness of the night, wrestling with unthinkable decisions. She could deplete her savings to assist Michael in escaping, jeopardizing her own future in the process. Or she could witness him being drawn back into a life that would undoubtedly lead him straight to prison. There was a third possibility, naturally. One that sent a mix of hope and dread swirling in her stomach. She could reach out to Max for assistance. The mere idea of returning to him, of confirming his doubts that her intentions were driven by his wealth, made her feel nauseous. Yet what option remained? Michael's life hung in the balance. With trembling hands, she reached for her phone. Before doubt could creep in, She quickly typed a straightforward message. I need to talk to you. It wasn't about them. It was about her brother. She hit send, then set the phone aside. A sense of having struck a bargain with darkness washing over her. Shortly after, a reply came through. Just tell me when and where. I'll be there. Angelina shut her eyes, contemplating whether she was about to make yet another grave error. Yet deep within the pain and fury, a quiet voice suggested that maybe Max was more than just his deception. Perhaps akin to her brother, he warranted an opportunity to demonstrate his true self. Whether she was prepared to offer him that opportunity was a different matter altogether. They convened at a quaint park bench, a place devoid of shared memories. Max arrived ahead of time, his heart pounding as he caught sight of Angelina approaching. She appeared more delicate, the darkness beneath her eyes hinting that rest had evaded her just as it had him. Thank you for coming, he said, struggling against the impulse to take her hand. This isn't about us, Angelina replied, maintaining her distance as she perched on the opposite end of the bench. It's about Michael. She laid out the situation, the threats, the danger, and Michael's limited options. As she spoke, Max listened intently, absorbing the strain in her voice and the way her fingers twisted nervously in her lap. He must move away, begin anew in a place where these individuals can't track him down. She determined, however, that requires funds we lack. How much do you require? Max inquired without hesitation. Angelina's eyes sparkled with intensity. I didn't come here seeking charity. That's not what I intended, he replied quickly, retracting his words. Max was determined to assist Angelina in ways that extended beyond financial support. The sleepless hours following her message were consumed with thoughts on how he could genuinely make things right, not only for her, but also to address his own shortcomings. He understood people. I can assist Michael in locating genuine employment, a place where these individuals won't search for him. He hesitated. Yet beyond that, I believe I can address the larger issue at hand. What larger issue? The framework that renders it almost unfeasible for individuals like your brother to begin anew. Max shared his vision, a foundation aimed at assisting ex-offenders in securing jobs, housing, and healthcare. Michael could not only benefit from this initiative, but also in time contribute to the program, leveraging his own journey to support others. Angelina's doubt was palpable. You'd really do that? She asked. Why? He replied with a straightforwardness that cut through the tension. Because it's the right thing to do, and because I want to be the man you believed I was, even if you're no longer part of my life. Her expression changed subtly. It wasn't forgiveness, not at this moment, but there was a hint of a fracture in her anger. I'll talk to Michael, she finally said. If he consents, we will take your proposal into account. It exceeded Max's expectations. 3 days later, Max found himself seated opposite Michael in a coffee shop, a place far removed from his typical spots. The likeness to Angelina was remarkable. The same resolute chin, the same unwavering gaze. Yet while Angelina's eyes radiated warmth, Michael's were cautious, scrutinizing. Why should I trust you? Michael asked, his voice steady after Max laid out his plan. You lied to my sister for months. The straightforwardness was a breath of fresh air after enduring weeks of corporate jargon. You shouldn't trust me, Max admitted. Not based on words, but I'm hoping you'll judge me by my actions from this point forward. Michael studied him closely. Angelina believes you're trying to win her over again. Are you inquiring if I still have feelings for her? Max held his gaze firmly. Yes, but that's not the reason I'm assisting you. I'm stepping up because I've dedicated my life to accumulating wealth, all the while overlooking the genuine issues surrounding me. This time I took action that truly counts. After a thoughtful pause, Michael nodded. Understood, but I refuse to accept handouts. I intend to work for what I receive. They sealed the agreement with a handshake, a connection formed between two individuals who shared more similarities than they initially realized, both molded by their fears, both in pursuit of redemption. In the weeks that followed, Max immersed himself in his new endeavor with the same fervor he had previously dedicated to business transactions. He arranged for Michael to join a construction firm run by a college acquaintance who was in his debt. He secured an apartment in a nearby city, covered 6 months' rent up front, and set up medical insurance through his company's foundation. Yet, his efforts didn't end there. Max started engaging with advocacy groups, gaining insight into the challenges that former inmates encounter. He contributed to legal aid organizations and began advocating with his political connections for sentencing reform. He toured halfway houses, absorbing narratives that would have felt foreign to him just months prior. In the process, he uncovered something unforeseen, a sense of purpose. For the first time in his life, Max was engaged in something that transcended monetary value or physical space. The gratitude reflected in people's eyes when he assisted them in landing interviews. the relief that washed over them when he assured them his foundation would cover their medication. These moments held greater significance than any achievement in the business realm. He maintained communication with Angelina through concise, courteous messages, never demanding more than she was prepared to offer. Occasionally, she replied with a straightforward thank you. At other times, there was just silence. He embraced both with the humility he was gradually acquiring. One evening, after completing a volunteer shift at a job readiness program, he discovered Angelina waiting outside. His heart raced as she drew near. "Michael mentioned that you've been visiting here twice a week," she remarked, imparting resume skills. Max acknowledged with a nod. "I'm still honing my abilities, but I'm making progress." "That's not what I heard." A subtle smile graced her lips. "They mentioned you've already assisted 5 individuals in securing employment. 7 to be precise." He couldn't suppress the pride in his voice. "One begins in my company's maintenance department tomorrow." They strolled side by side in the soft glow of dusk, the quiet that enveloped them now filled with potential rather than resentment. "I'm not putting on a facade, Angelina," he finally admitted when you walked away. "It compelled me to confront my true self, and I wasn't pleased with the reflection. And now I'm on a journey to become a person I can admire, someone deserving of trust." He paused, turning to look at her. "I realize I caused you pain. I understand that there's no going back. I'm not seeking your forgiveness or another opportunity. I simply want you to realize that knowing you transformed me despite my misguided actions." Angelina examined him closely, her gaze probing his features as if seeking remnants of the man who had betrayed her. "You've transformed," she admitted quietly. "For the better, it Rust." "Indeed," she remarked. "For the better." It wasn't about forgiveness, nor was it reconciliation. Yet, as they strolled a bit closer than before, Max sensed something he hadn't felt in months: hope. Autumn draped the city in hues of amber and gold as Max immersed himself in his work with the foundation. What started as a quest for redemption transformed into a significant mission that now consumed as much of his time as his real estate empire. He assembled a team focused on creating job opportunities for former inmates, launched a mentorship program, and engaged in discussions with the city regarding subsidized housing initiatives. Throughout the journey, he and Angelina kept a careful distance. Their exchanges, primarily focused on Michael's development, were polite yet restrained. Michael had flourished in his new role, recently achieving a promotion to crew supervisor. He had enjoyed several months without seizures, all due to his steady medication, and had even begun dating someone from his support group. One cool October evening, Max was putting in extra hours at the foundation's humble offices when his phone vibrated with a message from Angelina. "Are you Angelina available tomorrow night? There's something I want to share with you." His heart quickened as he responded, "Yes, what time?" 7. "I'll swing by your office to get you." Max found himself preoccupied the following day, pondering what Angelina intended to reveal and the significance of her reaching out after weeks of sparse communication. By 6:30, he had swapped shirts twice and glanced at his watch numerous times. When Angelina arrived, she appeared transformed, radiating a sense of ease that had been absent for months. The simple green dress she wore accentuated the golden flecks in her eyes. "You look beautiful," he remarked, before he could rein in his words. She offered a faint smile. "Thanks. Are you ready to go?" They traveled in a relaxed quietude until Angelina parked at a modest community center in a neighborhood Max had previously steered clear of. Inside, the room buzzed with activity as people arranged chairs in a circle, set out refreshments on a side table, and hung a handmade banner that proclaimed new beginnings. "1-year celebration." "What is this?" Max inquired, a look of confusion on his face. "Michael's support group," Angelina clarified. "Today signifies a full year since our initial gathering. He requested that I bring you along." Just as Max was about to reply, Michael came over, radiating joy, and gave Max a friendly pat on the shoulder. "You've arrived. Let's go. There are some remarkable individuals you need to connect with." Over the next hour, Max was introduced to at least 20 people, former inmates who had transformed their lives with support from the group, and more recently from Max's foundation. They recounted tales of hardship and victory, of securing employment through his initiatives, of mending family ties. Before your foundation helped me land that warehouse job, I was on the brink of despair, Wanman shared. Now my children have their father back. The medical coverage program truly transformed my life, shared a woman who had faced the struggles of addiction post-incarceration. I was unable to pay for me mental health medications before. As he absorbed her words, Max encountered a feeling he seldom felt, a profound sense of making a difference that transcended mere financial considerations. These weren't mere figures or financial deductions. They were individuals whose lives had transformed because he opted to extend a hand instead of merely amassing more riches. Later, as the festivities began to fade, Angelina discovered him seated in solitude, reflecting on all that he had absorbed. "So," she said, taking the chair beside him, "what do you think?" "I think I'm humbled," he replied honestly. "And grateful." "That you brought me here," she nodded, a soft expression on her face that he hadn't seen since before their falling out. "It was Michael's idea, actually. He mentioned that you should witness the ripple effects of your actions." They lingered in silence for a moment, observing Michael from a distance, laughing with friends who comprehended his challenges because they experienced them too. "It never properly expressed my gratitude," Angelina finally said, "for assisting him for everything. No need for thanks. That wasn't my motivation." "I understand." She locked eyes with him. "That's why I'm here." The gravity of her words lingered in the air. Max sensed his heart race, yet he hesitated to entertain too much hope. Angelina paused, her voice soft yet firm, as she shared her thoughts. "I've been reflecting on trust, forgiveness, and the possibility of second chances." She inhaled deeply, her fingers brushing against his arm. "What you did, the lie, it wounded me profoundly. It wasn't just the deception that stung, but the realization that you didn't have the confidence to be honest about your fears." Max nodded, acknowledging the weight of her words. "Yet, over these past months, witnessing your transformation, observing your selfless acts of kindness towards others, has revealed your true essence to me." Her voice softened. "Perhaps it's about discovering the essence of who you truly are, hidden behind the barriers you've constructed." "I'm still on this journey," he confessed, striving to improve. "That's the best any of us can hope for." She smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her eyes. "And I'd be there for you as you navigate this if that's what you want." Max experienced a wave of emotions so intense, it almost consumed him. "Are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that I want to give it another shot." Gradually, truthfully, she grasped his hand. "No more trials, no more hidden truths, just the two of us exploring what lies ahead." He laced his fingers with hers, scarcely able to accept that this moment was genuine. "I cherish that more than anything," he murmured gently as they stepped into the crisp evening air. Hand in hand, Max came to a significant realization. In the midst of losing everything, or rather in the act of finding loss, he discovered what was truly significant. Not the lavish penthouse, the thriving company, or the societal accolades, but the essence of connection, a sense of purpose, the bravery to embrace vulnerability, and above all the opportunity to love and be loved for the person he was evolving into. With a playful nudge of her shoulder against his, Angelina asked, "Where do we begin?" Max felt a wave of lightness wash over him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in months. "How about dinner? Just the two of us at a place neither of us has visited before." "A new beginning," she concurred. "That sounds appealing." Side by side, they strolled to her vehicle, the road ahead blank, yet brimming with potential. Spring came with a soft determination, mirroring the way Max and Angelina had nurtured their relationship over the past few months. What started as hesitant coffee dates and careful dialogues had evolved into something richer and more genuine than ever. They approached their journey with patience, intentionally allowing trust to grow organically, instead of hurrying back to their previous state. Max stood on the balcony of his penthouse, observing the city awakened below. The view remained unchanged, yet it resonated with him in a new way, where he once regarded the world with a sense of distance, focusing solely on opportunities and assets. He now perceived the intricate tapestry of lives unfolding in each shimmering window and bustling street. Coffee. Angelina appeared beside him, extending a steaming mug. She had spent the night, a recurring event that still held a sense of uniqueness each time. He accepted it with gratitude, their fingers grazing in a fleeting moment of closeness. "You seem deep in thought this morning," she remarked, leaning against the railing next to him, just reflecting on how much has changed. Angelina replied with a smile. "For the better, I trust." "Certainly for the better." He wrapped his arm around her, pulling her near. "The foundation has successfully obtained funding for the Transitional Housing Initiative. Construction will commence next month. This endeavor represents Max's most ambitious project to date, transforming one of his company's vacant properties into affordable apartments for former inmates reintegrating into society. Michael played a crucial role in crafting the support services that would complement the housing." "That's fantastic news." Angelina radiated with authentic pride. Michael noted that the city council was somewhat reluctant. "They were, that is, until we shared the findings from our pilot program. It turns out that stable housing leads to a reduction in recidivism by more than 60%. Max shook his head in disbelief. In hindsight, it becomes clear. Individuals require a solid base to reconstruct their existence. Foundations, Angelina mused with contemplation. "Indeed, that's what we've been constructing. Isn't it a sturdy base?" Max nodded, recognizing the similarity. Their bond at this moment was founded on something more resilient than the initial spark that had united them. The difficult lessons of yesteryears had compelled them to engage in more honest dialogue, confronting their fears instead of concealing them. "I have something for you," he declared unexpectedly, recalling the small box nestled in his pocket. Angelina arched an eyebrow. "Oh, it's not what you think," he chuckled, noticing the brief flicker of concern in her gaze. "Not just yet, at least." He presented her with the small velvet box. Inside lay a simple silver key. "What's this for?" she inquired, turning it over in her palm. "Your apartment lease is up next month," he started, "and I thought perhaps if you were interested you might think about moving in here." He quickly added, "No pressure. It's merely a suggestion." Angelina examined the key, her face a mask of contemplation. "Are you certain that's your desire?" "I've never felt more certain about anything," he replied with sincerity, "but only if you're prepared." She remained quiet for a lengthy pause, and Max sensed a wave of unease wash over him. Had he moved too quickly? Was she still unsure about him? "Before I respond," she finally said, "there's something I must ask you. Anything. If we agree, will this still be your space that I'm coming into, or will it become our shared home?" The question caught him off guard, yet he recognized its significance. "I want it to be ours," he replied with conviction. "We can redecorate, rearrange whatever you desire. Or we could explore the possibility of finding a completely new place if that's what you'd like. A space that belongs to us from the very start." Angelina's expression softened. "That holds great significance for me." She grasped the key tightly in her hand. "Yes, I would be delighted to share a home with you." Relief and joy enveloped him as it drew her into a warm embrace. "You've just made me the happiest man in the city." Later that day, they gathered with Michael for lunch at a quaint restaurant close to the construction site where he toiled. He appeared robust and self-assured in his work attire, a stark contrast to the timid individual Max had encountered over a year prior. "So she accepted?" Michael inquired right away, beaming at his sister. Angelina's jaw fell in surprise. "Did you know about this?" "He sought my opinion last week," Michael shrugged, obviously satisfied with himself. "I mentioned that it was about time." "So you approve?" Max asked, a hint of humor in his voice. Michael's demeanor shifted, becoming more earnest. "You're one of the good ones, Max. It simply took some time for you to come to that realization." While they dined, Michael revealed some news of his own. He had been accepted into a community college program in construction management, which he planned to attend in the evenings while still working. His girlfriend Lisa had been offered a position at a nearby clinic as a counselor for those overcoming addiction. He reflected on his life, feeling a sense of contentment. It was better than he had ever anticipated after his time in prison. Observing the siblings interact, Max was overwhelmed with gratitude. His earlier misjudgment could have resulted in significant loss. Yet through an unexpected series of events, it had brought him to this moment filled with meaning and genuine relationships. That evening, as Angelina started to take stock of her apartment in preparation for the move, Max meandered through the cozy space that had been her sanctuary. It was unpretentious yet inviting, brimming with books, plants, and cherished photographs, a stark contrast to his sleek penthouse adorned with costly but soulless furnishings. "I want to infuse this space with that energy," he said, gesturing around. "It feels like a home, Angelina glanced up from the box she was packing. This merely possessions, Max. No, it's beyond that. It's the existence you've created. He lifted a framed photo of Angelina and Michael from their teenage years, arms draped around one another. These moments narrate your journey. And now we will weave our narrative together. She approached him, her presence a blend of light and shadow. He placed the photo aside and grasped her hands gently. I was once so consumed by fear of pain that I failed to recognize the beauty before me. She confessed that she had opted for tests rather than embracing uncertainty, and her habit of managing everything solo left her unsure of how to accept assistance. They both recognized the growth they had experienced. Max nodded, reflecting on their journey. Have you ever thought about this? Love isn't merely about discovering someone who meets your criteria. It is truly about finding someone who inspires you to take chances. That could very well be the most insightful thing you've ever expressed. Angelina playfully bantered, her eyes sparkling with warmth. As the night enveloped them, they kept packing, sharing dreams of the life they would create together. They deliberated over hues for the living room, the placement of Angelina's books, and whether a larger dining table was necessary for entertaining friends. Amidst the flow of everyday dialogue, Max experienced a moment of stillness, struck by a profound realization. This was the essence of his quest. It wasn't the affirmation of love, even in the face of loss, but rather the exhilaration of creating something significant in unison. As they strolled hand in hand through the serene streets on their way to what would soon be their shared home, he paused beneath a streetlight and faced her. I once believed that wealth was defined by possessions, he said softly. Now I understand that it's truly about what you give and the people you cherish. Angelina stood on her tiptoes and kissed him, a gesture so instinctive now it felt like returning to a familiar place. I love you, Max Caldwell, she murmured against his lips. Not for what you possess, but for who you truly are. And I love you, Angelina Whitmore, he replied, for showing me the meaning of trust, the beauty of giving, and the potential to become more than I ever imagined. Together they walked toward their future, unafraid of what lay ahead. They had discovered the most vital truth of all. True love demands no trials, only bravery, sincerity, and a shared commitment to evolve together, no matter the challenges that arise. Did you find yourself captivated by Max and Angelina's tale of trust, deception, and redemption? Their narrative serves as a poignant reminder that genuine connections are forged not through trials or ideal situations, but through honesty and the bravery to be open. If their heartfelt journey struck a chord with you, please give that like button a tap. Share your reflections in the comments and consider passing this video along to someone who could benefit from the message that love thrives on trust, not tests. We're eager to hear where you're tuning in from.